We welcome in our senior writer for ESPN.com, Heather Dinich, Greg McElroy, Sam Acho with us as well. Heather, what are the biggest changes and takeaways from the expanded playoff that you'd like to point out?
Laura, college football fans need to understand, most importantly, that the ranking is different than the seeding. That means that Notre Dame could be #1 in the selection committee's ranking and be the #5 seed just minutes after it's ranked. Why? Because they can't win a conference title, so the Irish can't get a first-round bye. The same can be said for if Georgia loses in the SEC championship game. They could be the committee's #2 team and be the 5th seed because they're not a conference champion. So that's important. Ranking different than seeding. The other thing college football fans need to understand is that the 12th team could be the unluckiest team in the country. Why? Because they need to make room for that 5th highest ranked conference champion. So last year, Oklahoma was the committee's #12 team. In a 12-team college football playoff, the Sooners would have been bumped out for #23 Liberty. The year before that, Washington was the committee's #12 team. They would have been bumped out at the expense of Tulane, the highest ranked conference champion from a group of 5. So just because you're the 12th team in the selection committee's ranking doesn't mean you're going to be the 12th team in the bracket. And then finally, Laura, one more quick thing. What happened to Florida State last year is not going to happen again. An undefeated Power 4 conference champ is not getting left out of this thing. So Seminoles fans can exhale, unless they're the #12 team.
I was going to say, I mean, if they're that #12 team, though, just don't be that team. No, I'm sure the one thing that we can all take away from this is that there'll still be drama on Selection Sunday, which is, I think, good. Greg, do you like this new format?
It took me a little while to get on board. If I'm going to be completely honest, I'm a traditionalist. I believe that our sport was different in a sense that our regular season games mattered to the utmost extent. Meaning if you lost one, it was devastating. You lost two, you were dead. You were out. It was over. So the do or die nature of the sport forever is what made it unique. And now with that changing, it makes it a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm also very excited about a few things with the new 12-team format. One, I love the home playoff game. Absolutely love the idea of a team from the north having to come south and play in a hostile venue. Same can be said with the team from the south having to go north and potentially playing in snow, sleet, rain, ice, what have you. To see the Florida Gators play in Ann Arbor on December 20th would be amazing. So I'm very much excited about that possibility. The other thing I'm very excited about with this, and I'm curious too, we've all estimated maybe 20 teams in November that still have a chance. I really want to know how many teams there are, but knowing that those teams like Kansas, teams like Georgia Tech perhaps, teams like Virginia Tech, teams that have never really gotten close to the playoff because they just didn't have enough strength of schedule, strength of resume to garner consideration in a 4-team format, now the world is their oyster. And they might have a chance, just might have a chance to play their way in to one of those at-large spots in the event in which they don't win their conference. So I'm very excited about how many teams will still have a rooting interest for a championship come November or early December.
I'm most interested in seeing which conference champion loses in the quarterfinals. Remember, the 4 highest ranked conference champions are going to be ranked 1 to 4. That doesn't mean they're the 4 best teams, but they'll jump up in the rankings and have a bye week. And so it's a positive. You made the playoffs, you have a bye week. But let's say you weren't as good as maybe the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th ranked team. Now all of a sudden, let's say you're a Big 12 champion who had a bye week. Let's say you're Utah, now you got to face Georgia, who ended up losing in the SEC. Or maybe you're facing Alabama or Texas. So I'm excited that the conference champions will automatically make it. But I'm interested to see who they play and if they'll be as excited when they have to face a tough opponent.
Yeah, you know that there's going to be somebody that's upset about that. Heather, what are your biggest concerns about this new structure?
Well, Laura, I would call it more curiosity than concern, just how conference championship games do factor into these discussions moving forward. And I talked to Georgia coach Kirby Smart at length about this, because if you lose your conference championship game, you have to win 4 straight games to win the national title. And as these guys can attest to, that is a devastating loss in your conference championship game. To emotionally rebound from that and then go on to win 4 straight, Kirby Smart talked about maybe the number 3 team in the SEC might be in the best position because they're sitting there watching that, right? Similarly, Notre Dame essentially has a bye before the playoff starts because they don't have to play in a conference championship game. So how does the conversation around that evolve as coaches lose in those prestigious games? And to be clear, Kirby Smart and everyone else I talked to, including Ryan Day, as of right now, the value of winning a Big Ten title or an SEC championship, that means the world to them. And Kirby said that is equally, if not as more challenging as winning the national title. But when you lose, that is a tough spot to be in for a national title contender. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, excellent points there, Heather, and great clarification. It has been interesting, too, to see how these coaches have constructed teams, even in the transfer portal, knowing that if you're going to be a contender, you're going to be playing a whole lot longer than you had been before, and you really need to peak at the best time toward the end of the season.